This is certainly Jesus' most quoted commandment, but it's also the hardest to follow. The philosophers throughout the centuries have distinguished between different types of love, right? There's no one universal love. There's the love that's between friends. There's a more passionate love that would be between spouses. Then there's the supreme love, which we would call agape love. You might have heard that before in the catechism class or something. That agape love is the love of the Trinity. That's that ultimate love that Jesus is calling us to here. Not a love that only exists between me and people I get along with, or people that I agree with, or people I'm related to, or people I look like or sound like, or people in my family or on my block. Not just a love that's between my spouse and I and my children and those in my most intimate, closest circle. And it's not even a love that can be defined by any particular group or distinction. It's a complete, generalized, but very specific love that looks like the cross. That is perfect love. That's what Jesus says here. This is my commandment, love one another. There's no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. Now even that, Jesus again, everybody is his friend that follows that one commandment to love others, to love everyone as the Father loves us. So that's not even, again, it's not supposed to be a specific group of people. That's what the entire world, the whole human race is called to this love, to be friends of the Blessed Trinity, friends of Jesus, right? So even as wonderful as our first responders are and those that serve in the military, they do that love every day, right? They run into danger as cowards like me run away from danger, right? Someone has a gun, I'm out of here, right? They can't do that. They've laid their life on the line. There's a burning building. As much as I love fire, I ain't going to no burning building. I'm running the other way, calling the fire department. When war is coming, I ain't signing up. I'm a coward. That's what the army's for, right? That's what they do. They lay down their life for others. But it goes beyond just when you're on the job or in your uniform or on deployment. Jesus isn't calling us to just do that in our 9 to 5. Jesus is calling us to do that every day, all day. Parents, the love you have for your children, that you're willing to sacrifice everything for your children. You're called to have that same love for the stranger on the street and the person at the Jewel and the guy who cuts you off on the street when you're driving. You're called to have the same love for them too. See, it's not that easy to love one another as I have loved you. It's not enough to just hold the door open for a stranger. You have to will their good because they are an other, right? To love is to will the good of the other as other. That's the church's definition of love. It's not to will the good of the other because they're my child or they're my spouse or they go to the same church that I do or they work next to me or we've been friends since kindergarten. Like, that's not why I will your good. It's to will the good of the other just because they are other. That's a tall order to fill, and it ain't easy. But Jesus never said it was going to be easy, right? What did Jesus say? Pick up our cross and follow him. He never promised that life is going to be full of hugs and kisses and butterflies and rainbows. He gave us the perfect outline for what love looks like, the cross. And we see that in our parents, right? So we talked about parents, so the love of parents of their children. And actually parents, you, not just mothers, but we're going to single the mothers out today because it's Mother's Day, but you all know what it's like to love unconditionally, right? I was a terrible child. I made my parents' teeth itch all the time. I was very annoying, right? But my parents still did everything for me. They sacrificed everything for me to make sure I had the best education and that I had more than enough food to eat. They're probably going to sacrifice a bit more there. But that I got to do any hobby or, I didn't really do much sports. I played tennis once, but that's a whole other story. But any like hobby or outing or anything I wanted to do, my parents made it work. They sacrificed everything for me, not just because I'm their only child and they knew they hit perfection after one, but all of you parents here, that's what I say. They say they're afraid to have another one like me. But as parents, you know quite closely the love of God the Father for all of us, his children. In the same way you would do the same things my parents did for me and that you are doing them for your children. That's the love of the Father for us, of the whole Blessed Trinity. And so while, it's harder for us to understand fully how Jesus intends for us to love one another as he loves us, as parents, you have kind of the closest view of that. But again, it's not just a love you're meant to just only have for your children. That's a love we're called to extend to everybody. And this is, just in closing, this is why the church calls some of us to a life of celibacy, especially religious sisters, religious brothers, and those of us ordained. And in that call of celibacy, that's our way of living out this love of the Father, right? So, it's while parents, you have that very unique view of the love of a parent to a child and the willingness you are to sacrifice for them, that love is a little harder for you to extend to, the stranger on the street and the guy that cuts you off in traffic, because you have your blood and flesh right in front of you, right? As a celibate, that's my way of loving not just any one particular group of people. Those my aunts and uncles and my cousins, I do love them, but I also love all of you as my family, and any parish within the archdiocese I'm sent to serve at any point in my next life of priesthood. I'm called to love them unconditionally. It's for religious men and women, whatever school or orphanage or hospital that they're serving in their charism, they're called to love everybody that comes through their door in whatever their particular charism may be. And in this celibate love, we are in our own way sacrificing for those that the Lord calls us to serve. That's a beautiful thing about this gift of celibacy. It's not an imposed rule on my life. It's a gift I had to discern a calling to, just as you all discern your own calls to be in married life or whatever vocations that you have. The Lord gives us the grace that we need to love as he loves, to take up our own crosses and follow him. And not just to keep that in a singular focus, but to extend it to everyone. So that then ultimately we can do as Jesus tells us, bear much fruit, and to bear that fruit in joy.